Tonight I'm going to explain why I'm not going to rant anymore against religion and start teaching from the Bible. Don't be freaked out about me being an atheist. I'm still an atheist. But I think we have to define what reality is, but we're not going to do that right away. We're going to start how I got on the topic at all of why would an atheist be teaching. Why would an atheist come off the idea to teach the Bible? And we're going to start back from way back when with a little story about a significant introduction to me wondering about things with my dad. Like if you might have watched the other videos, I was raised in a Christian family, and even if we were on holiday we went to church, and we were on holiday somewhere, and I think this was the second or third church we'd been to that was different, and I wasn't paying attention to the sermons, but my dad was, and the sermon that the preacher gave and the preacher in the next place and the next place all were pretty well the same thing, and for him it meant that he should start memorizing verses from the Bible. And just isn't really significant except for the fact that it didn't mean anything to me because I wasn't paying attention too much at that age. I was probably still only 10 or 11. But I did notice how it affected my dad, and he probably went about actually doing it. Now, I might have thought this a little bit crazy because it's just coincidence, but since then I've changed my opinions about coincidence, and we'll probably get to that, but first I'll probably get to the mountain. When I was in college, there was it was a work co-op thing, so you're supposed to work 8 months out of the 1 year out of the 4 years that you were there. You're supposed to work 1 year, and when it was our work term, there was no work, so my friend and I decided to run off to the mountains. And on one of the first endeavors to go up a mountain, we started a little bit late, about 5 o'clock at night. And we didn't have that much to eat, and we were simply being a little bit unprepared and a bit naive. But we started up the mountain, and the higher you go, of course, the more cold it gets. And eventually that night we got on each other's nerves a little bit because it was that much of a walk, and it was our first mountain climb of a little adventure. And it was getting just about nighttime when we realized that if we wanted to stay warm that night, we were going to probably have to walk all night in the dark, which is a little bit ridiculous because there was just no place to park our tent. And just about the time we were about to resolve ourselves to this concept of walking all night, there was a little piece of flat land that looked like it was put there for us, and it was probably put there for a couple other hikers as well. But it wasn't put there, it was just a natural place, and it was a flat and big enough exactly for the tent and no more. And by the time we had our tent set up, it was dark, and we ate and went to bed and sleep. Then the next morning, we'll get to that. Now the next morning we got up feeling, it wasn't perfectly warm, it was getting close to the top of the mountain, or close enough to where we're going to the top, and we packed up and walked probably about an hour or two and came to the top of the mountain, and the sun was blasting down on us, and it looked like we just landed in paradise. And we walked around and took it easy, put our packs back, and decided to rest for a while. And I went up to a little place where there had been some mountain goats and looked around at the planet Earth below me and thought, after I'd been there for a while, I'm going to be a writer. And so I scurried on back down and told Brian, and he said, well, good luck to you, you're going to need about 25 years. Or he said 20, and somebody else said 20, but it took 25. But anyway, that was the start of me deciding that I was going to write. And that was at the age of 22, so that was 24 or 5 or 6 years ago. And then I'm going to try to get to the point where we're making before, what was it? Thing? Okay, the point is, how I landed up decided to be so concerned with the Bible. I was always concerned with the Bible. When I was in Sunday school, I was reading, I was responding always to the our lessons in Sunday school and asking many questions. And I was the only one. Nobody else really cared, and they just didn't concentrate. I mean, kids aren't usually interested in the Bible, but something about it made me very curious, and I wanted to know the answers. I wanted to make it work. I wanted to know what it was that we were to believe in, and how it made sense to me, because I think I was having trouble with the reality of it, and that started very young, and I kept at that, of course, until I left the church. And eventually, of course, I was writing without any intention ever to get back at the Bible, but oddly enough, everything I did pushed me back towards that direction. And when I was working on the book that I was trying to write, the character just always ended up being like Jesus Christ, and there's no way I could get away from that character. Okay?